All right, we're at 3:02. Let's get started. Everybody ready? Team, thumbs up. Hello, everybody. Welcome. March partner-led virtual session. I am super excited about this one for this month as we're getting ready for next month user group. So this will help us get our mindset and be able to ask all those good questions, connect, and be ready to move our business forward. So today, you guys remember me? I'm the one who blasts you all the time with emails, Juan Mac, and I'm with Sean Lardo from ConnectWise.
I'm
There he
the
is.
I'm the guy that tells him not to blast everybody. I'd say don't do it, and he does it anyway because he's a
Yeah,
renegade. He's a rebel.
yeah.
And I'm curious that you talk about getting your mindset ready. You posted that picture with all the notepads. Can we talk about that for a minute?
All the post-it notes. Yes,
Yes, that's it. The
yes.
post-it notes.
We went through a 2 days workshop, process improvement. Uh, Over here. It was really eye-opening. It was fantastic to learn about all of our different departments and how we have a lot of things in place, but we need to make sure that we are interact better. So it was very interesting. Uh, I'm I get excited about all that stuff. That's the geek part of me. But yeah, by the end of the day, I couldn't even think straight. So ready to sit down and relax now and just let Juan, take care of the rest of the day.
Who DJ? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Get ready to DJ it.
Don Juan all day long.
DJ.
Oh, that's a good name. All right.
All right, let's move forward. Couple of housekeeping. Remember, I want to remember or remind everybody that these are partner-led sessions. This is a partner-led user group, so make sure that you engage within the chat. Make sure that you are vocal. We have our Slack channel. We can connect via LinkedIn, and we want to make sure that we're providing value on all these sessions and all upcoming user groups when we get together at Secure and Connect. And if you need content or anything that you would like to hear, make sure that you make suggestions. Just let us know. That's why we have Sean. That's why we have Juan, and we have the advisory council to reach out and make sure that we bring value to these. And make sure that we connect. So make connections in here. Listen to all the partners what they're saying, and make sure that we can help each other so we can at the end of the day we just want to make sure that we are all getting value and growing our business. We do have our, like I said, our partner advisory council. So I see Scott and Larry should be here, and Richard, I don't see the list, but and John. So thank you everybody. Like I said, we're getting together, we provide input, and we work together to make sure that we make this group, the Central Mafia, successful and make sure that it grows. And we have some sponsors within our team. We have Sean and Juan, which you'll hear more from him. And they always provide good direction on what to do. And sometimes we don't do it, right? So we just say we're just going to do it anyway.
Talk about it. Talk about a tale of two pictures. One's where he's holding his award, and I'm holding a glass of wine. It's like
Well, that's fantastic outfit. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you look like you're winning. You can win. That's a lot easier to win there, Sean.
I feel like a winner till the next morning. So yes.
Okay. So we do have a Slack channel. Make sure that you connect with us in there. We're gonna try to post a lot of more information and be interactive. And that's where we post a lot of our follow-ups, all of our upcoming events, any news for the group. We're going to make sure that those are posted in there. And this session is being recorded, so it will be posted on the Central Mafia YouTube channel. And I did validate these QR codes because they told me the last session they were not working. So I did have my daughter last night with her phone, making sure that they work. So they are valid. We do have some upcoming events. This month we have 2 open mics. So next week we're going to have a follow-up. We always have great conversations. If you don't join the open mics, I really encourage you guys to join. We do have great conversations, either follow-up from these or any questions that anybody has. Just go ahead and we can interact. And every now and then we will have Sean join in the advisory council, and we can reach out and follow up with you guys. And then the next one, what we want to do is we're just calling it ready for share. So we want to make sure that we are ready for our user group. So we're going to, you already have the content out there available, but we want to make sure that we go back to ConnectWise, to the ConnectWise team, and make sure that they meet our expectations as the group. So that will be that session right before our user group, which will be on April. And as we're talking here about our user group, who is actually going to the user group? Who's signed up? Are you going to the user group?
We're putting a poll up, right?
Yeah, we got a poll out there that should. Does everybody see it?
Yep.
Make sure I'm doing it right. Awesome. I feel like we should probably send this poll twice, and see how many we change from unsure to yes. Once we talk a little bit more about the user group.
We better look and see who says yes first. If everybody says yes, then there's nobody to sell to. We're done.
Yeah.
Then it's just up to DJ to do his thing. I love you told me
that. So while you guys fill that out, then in May we're going to have our cybersecurity, just getting ready for Secure, which is in June. So we're going to have a cybersecurity topic, and then we're going to have our open mic just ready for Secure. And obviously in June there's the Secure session. So we will not have a partner-led session that month, but we will have a Secure follow-up open mic. So later in that month, yes, we will have a follow-up from Secure, so we can again get together, talk a little bit, and I really enjoy those conversations.
We also talked about the possibility of everybody getting together, whoever's going to Secure, for a meetup for like a VIP lunch. So as after we finish with Chicago, if you guys can start to let us know who intends on going to Secure, see how much of attendance we can have, and you can bring your people with you. It doesn't really matter, but I like to get a head count.
Yep.
All right.
Hold on. I think I clicked somewhere else. There you go. So there's your agenda for Secure. If you haven't checked it out yet, and I'll let Sean talk about that free pass.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a free pass. No. So there's a free pass for Activation Secure. In order to qualify, you must attend the user group in Chicago. There'll be other details we'll put out as to how you win the pass once we're there. But definitely, I don't even know what the cost is. I don't know if you guys looked at it yet. I don't even know if anything's even come out yet. But I'm sure our prices every year, these prices have increased for shows. I mean, hell, I remember when I went to Channel Partner Expo for $100. Now, not happening.
No, and registration is open. So if you guys are thinking about going to Secure, you can actually go in and register. All right, so we're getting ready to begin here. So make sure that you use the chat if you would like to some questions. Juan saying he's going to monitor the chat, but he wants it to be really interactive. So if you guys have any questions, I mean, he's going to be posting a lot of documents out there. If you have any questions, just you can just use your mic, ask questions to Juan, but we'll be monitoring the chat section if you have something out there, and we'll make sure that those get answered. So today we have, very excited because we have Juan Fernandez here with us. Juan is the global channel chief at Hackware, and he's been with the let's see if I do it justice here, Juan. I grabbed where I had a local all over the place, so do your intro. So Juan has been involved with the MSP channel for over 20 years. He's been a vital part of the MSP industry with its endeavors as the CEO of the MSP Growth Coalition, helping MSP business owners build the business they always wanted and make money doing it. He's currently a member of CompTIA's North America Executive Council, and over the past 5 years, he's served in multiple committees like the Subject Matter Expert Technical Advisory, and as a council member and co-chair Channel Development Advisory Council, just to name a few there on that list. He has a wealth of knowledge in our industry, and he's also the author of the MSP Owner's Handbook. And I can tell you from personal experience that Juan lives by his mission and passion, that is to help MSPs grow. So, and his name is Juan, so he's a cool dude. So, without further ado, Mr. Juan Fernandez, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Juan Mac, for having me, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I think that hopefully that today is going to be an interesting one. One of the things we're going to be talking about, if you want to let me take control of the share, Juan, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Yep, go for it.
Let me see if this is going to work out the way I think it is. All right, tell me if you guys can see it.
Yep.
You guys can see my screen okay?
Yes, sir.
So what are we going to talk a little bit about today? And this is going to be a little bit different. I've never actually done one this way. So you guys will be a little bit of a different scenario. I'll be presenting some information. We're going to be talking around some things. And then I'm going to be sharing a number of documents in here to help you work alongside me. If you choose to, you can, or you could just follow along with us either way. I put some of these, there's a number of different types of documents I'm going to put in here today. One of them is going to be PDF, one will be an Excel spreadsheet, one will be a Word document, and you can fill them out while we're going. I'm going to show you some graphical pieces, but I'll also show you the ones you can pre-fill. I created them in Excel so that you guys can type along if you so choose to. But one of the things we're going to talk about today is, what a customer journey map might tell you that your customers may not. And what that means, and I don't, for many of you that are here, you may or may not know me, but one of the, Juan introduced me as such, but I also have built an MSP. That's kind of what I did in my previous life before I was the channel chief of Hackware, before I owned the MSP Growth Coalition, before I wrote a book. I've had a number of IT companies, and I built my last MSP and took it from 0 to 19 million in about 6 years. And a lot of what I did during that time is recognize that there was a process and a plan for success. And what I've been sharing for all these years, even back when I was building my MSP, I'd come to these sessions and speak at them about what I was building at the time I was building it. And I felt like the community was really strong to share alongside each other and help raise the boats together. And so I made a lot of great friends, similar to many of you here today, and have had them during that entire time. But my journey is really all about, building, organizations and figuring out some things. But one of the things that I found out, and I'll speak to this a little bit, was when I started building my company, I realized that in the beginning, when I first built my break fix organization, I needed to be good at something. I knew I was really good at tech, and I knew I was really good at delivering software and support and services and solutions, but I didn't know how to do anything extremely really well on the managed services side, if you will. And that doesn't sound like it. It's like, Juan, we have to do a lot of things as IT people, and I get that. But I realized after my first IT company, which I took and was getting ready to exit, I took it to about 3 million back in the early 2000s. And got ready to exit to sell to a $40 million company. And then at the last second, I burned it to the ground and lost everything. So I had to come back in and figure out, how do I make this work? And I realized that I had to embark on a journey of becoming a master of something. And I want to share that story because this is IT Nation Share, right? And I'm here to share, and this is my story. And I talk a lot about this, being the accidental entrepreneur, starting off as a technician, early days of AOL and the help desk, and working my way up through enterprise and healthcare, and working my way into the federal government, and being a head of cybersecurity, and then popping out, starting my own IT company, and then going back in and working in, finance and retail and healthcare and education in multitude of levels, figuring out how they buy, how do they interact, what do the customers want, what do they need. and then coming back in and doing it again, starting it off of a blank piece of paper. But so I'm no different, right? I have done a lot of things, but I also, for some of you, just like some of me, it started off like this, right? And so really understanding, I had a PC restoration business back in the gateway days, where I was building clones and selling products and service, just hardware and, things to people. It wasn't necessarily anything back then. I think we were calling it like block time was actually something that we were starting to have a conversation around where customers were buying. And I had to realize, like, how does this work, right? And I think we all found love in the tech world, right? We found something we were good at, something we loved, something someone would pay us for. And face it, I sold myself the dream was everyone needs IT, right? That was the bear trap. And I made this whole thing to feel like this was the world, but I didn't realize business was going to be hard to run. I didn't know that it was going to be hard to get customers, or that I'd need to be a multitasking master, and that I really, it wasn't about my product or service. It was actually about my process. A lot of people didn't think I worked, which, for all intents and purposes, people today still don't think I work, but I work really hard. But, and then the hardest part, right? Taxes, 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 and not having enough time. I know that many of us here today, whether you're starting off or you're owning an MSP, these are some of the challenges. But one of the things that I had to understand, and as I built my first company, realized that I didn't have a real meaningful way to scale. It felt like I was always struggling to grow my business. As I exited that business and went into industry and figured out, I had to figure out, how do I put the coin in and a dollar come out? And so for years after my first MSP, I focused on trying to figure out how exactly to make that work. And I really wanted to understand, how does the house always win, right? So I used this graphic of a slot machine, because for many of us here, we've all gambled before, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But the house knows when they're going to win and lose. They know when they're going to win and lose. And I wanted to know that too. So what I decided to do was build a program. And that program may look something similar to what you guys have today, where you have, you've identified your cost to run your business. You understand how much it takes to run your business. You understand how much you're going to charge per seat and how many seats it'll cover to cover your expenses, and keeping your gross margins at 50%, and, understanding the right sizing of your customers and your value versus your cost, and measure and collecting your data and KPIs to like finalize it. And then, we keep hearing this over the last few years, raising our prices to adjust to market trends and, make sure that we're staying in business. I had to come up with that, right? That was something that I had to build. And that's how I scaled my last MSP, was steps to success. But one of the big things that I think was really important was that I realized something. And it wasn't that when I thought about what I created was never about the tech. And I was so focused on the tech in my early business that that's all I talked about. That's all I ever focused on. That's all I ever really worked on with my customers. And I'd come in and I'd talk to them about tech, and they'd look at me with a glass look and be like, I don't really know what you're saying. And I always felt confused, like, well, maybe I just aren't doing a good enough job communicating them. But what they were saying to me was, one, I don't understand your value proposition. I don't understand how that means to me in my business. So what I did in my last one was that the process was what I created, because the process was what was going to be the thing that they cared the most about. For those of you that know me or know anything about me, there was a little thing called MSP Shark Tank that I did with a few years back. And the way that what they asked for was something that was completely different than what I brought to the table. And I even told them that. I said, what you asked for wasn't what you wanted. What you wanted was return on investment and business outcomes and faster growth of the market and enabling the remote workforce before the pandemic had even hit. It was about the process to the solution to the problem, and it was the outcome that they wanted. It wasn't about the tech. It wasn't about the best cybersecurity sales pitch. It was about it. And so as we think about that, just about the time, and I don't like, and even in the book that we just talked about, the MSP Owner's Handbook, the reason that I started where I did with the MSP Owner's Handbook was I didn't need to start from the beginning, right? I wanted to start from a place where MSPs were already at. And that's really where we're at now, is the strategic component of our business, right? We already know how to start a business, Juan. We already know how to operate tech. We already know how to do certain things. I need to know how to get my customers to do things. And that's where we kind of look, we got to this point, and now it feels like we have to, it all changed. especially now with the pandemic. And that's the beauty of it, right? We all got to the ability to go back to the start. And I use this reference on purpose because I think it's really important for us to think about what we're doing in our business. And today I will stop along the way, and I'm curious because I want you guys to also have a conversation with me. This isn't going to be me talking to you the whole time. I want you guys to interact and chat back, because I like to know where you're at so that I can help you to go where you want to go. That's my biggest thing in life is I wish somebody would have been there to help me. And so I'm curious for anybody that's out there. You guys can either chat inside of the chat, or you can guys just pipe up and take yourself off mute. But how many of you guys have started down a customer journey map? I know one Mac might have, but how many of the rest of us here, or anybody? You guys can send emojis or
Maybe you
whatever.
should define. Maybe you want to give a definition, high level definition of what it means.
Yeah. So customer journey, like when you think about your customer journey, have you guys thought about how you're interacting with your customer along the way within your program? And I don't mean this just from an executive level, even from a help desk level. Or, all right, we got Chris Bryan's got some good ones. Jason, I love the shaking face. We process, we're good, we're smaller, but we got may grow, process, or broken. And mostly important, I'm not having my software vendors work for me. Yeah. This is the thing. So like, as you think, even in your role, and I say this all the time because as I was building mine and scaling my organization, one of the things I learned a long time ago, being at the bottom and managing the top, if you will, because I've always felt like I led the best from the bottom than I did from the top. And I always wanted to get down and understand the problems that we were trying to solve here so that when we could communicate them here, we would be able to solve them more effectively. And I have an equation that I tell a lot of people, if the problem equals one is the problem. So I've always tried to build processes and procedures that empower people to be successful. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm talking about a customer journey. Everybody here today actually is part of a customer journey. And so in your world, thinking about how do I impact my interaction with the customers, or how do I support our customers along the way? It's really important for us to think that we all, process and procedure, Jason, you're right. So when we think about a customer journey in your world, let's say you're in the help desk, do you have a process that you spell out of how they interact with you at the help desk? If you're in support or in projects, do you have a process that you actually interact with? That's where I'm asking. And so if any of you have any of those today, I'd be, awesome. Great job. This is what we're going to talk about today, because if you don't have one, one of the things that I'd be interested in seeing as we go down this path is everybody here today can learn something. You guys can take this back to your organization and say, hey, look, we realize, I say this all the time, that, organizations that don't have a process for customer success also probably have a problem with employee churn, because as an employee sitting at a location, having to deal with customer friction constantly and not having a process for customer success, it gets tiresome. I know it does. I've been there. It sucks, right? We don't want to do that. And so the more we have a process for customer success, the more you have a process for employee success, because now I don't have to deal. And I used to say, I want to create employee dream jobs so that you don't have to deal with all the problems. Let's create a process that makes that simplified. So this is where I'm going today with this whole thing. And I want to just give you guys kind of a visual representation of what I mean here. Now, this is a high level overview of what a process map might look like from an organizational standpoint. And the reason I want to show you this, there's several different ones. I'm going to show you this one. This is one that I've used in my own, and I help illustrate this so that people can get an idea of what a generalized customer lifecycle process might look like. But then I'm going to show you one here in a minute from CompTIA that I worked on to create the buyer's journey, which is similar, but it's just a little bit more colorful. What I'm talking about when we say this is that the reason for a process in this here is because a lot of things that you'll find going through this exercise that we're going to do today is going to be a lot of ways that you can just tweak little things to make it really clean across the board. One of the things that I get a lot of times is where MSPs tell me that, Juan, I have a really hard time with sales. And I'm like, So what are you selling? And they're like, well, I got all these products, man, and I just, I'm having a hard time with it. And I said, what if your process was your program? And what if that's what you told your customer? And what if you could easily articulate that? Then it wouldn't matter about the tech. And so this won't just today be about how to improve your internal process. This will be also a sales machine opportunity. It'll be a marketing opportunity, because everything we're going to do today will help you see the bigger picture of creating an organization that is the process, that is the program, not the tech. And so I wanted you to just kind of take a look at this real quick. Here's another one that I want to show you that we did. Looks like a Candyland. Kind of goes through the pain and the discovery and awareness. This one actually had a little bit of the psychology around some of the things you have to contend with when you're having a conversation with a customer, such as emotion. And so this kind of goes through the buyer's journey of assessment and competitive review and SLAs and negotiation. This one isn't 100% specific to MSPs though. So if you guys want these resources, I have them. Everything you see here today, obviously this is being recorded, but also if you want them in print, I'm happy to share them. I have the authority to do that. So, but let's talk through this. So as we talk through a customer journey, and if I'm getting ahead of anyone and anyone has any questions, feel free to just pop some questions in here and be like, hold up, Juan, stop. Give me a second. Let me digest that. And do I have any questions just yet, other than the ones that I've seen in the chat?
Nope, you're extremely thorough so far.
All right. So whenever and I'm going to start this at the beginning. So some of this may or may not resonate with some of you that may be supporting help desks, or maybe in the project realm, or maybe you in the VCIO realm, or maybe in the TAM or some others. There's a number of things we're going to walk through today. So bear with me. So one of the things that I want to talk about is before we have a conversation with a customer. A lot of times that this may not apply to everybody here. This may be more sales and marketing for you guys that are with me today. I think you'll enjoy this, but for the rest of you guys, we all got to bear together. Like, we're going to cover a lot of ground today. So we're going to start at the beginning, and we're going to end at the end. So the challenge with sales, I think, is that we don't always look at a process for success. Now, I'm going to illustrate. I have a 5-step rule. And the reason that I have a 5-step rule is because I need it to be basically, there's 5 fingers on your hand, and I want it to be 1 through 5. Did I follow the steps that are in front of me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need it to be easy, not only for my team to understand, but I also need it easy for customers to understand. So what I'm going to help illustrate today is not just by the time we get to the end of this, I'm going to show you what it looks like to present all of this to your customer and use your process as your program. So follow along with me. And if you do need some resources along the way, there's some that I'm going to pop into the chat. There's also external references that you guys will be able to use outside of the chat. And I just want to make sure that you guys all have that available to you. So step 1, is really talking about how do we approach our customers before we ever get there. Now, when we talk about your customer journey and your map, I'm going to share your resources here in just a minute that you'll be able to fill this out. But if you don't have something that you're doing on the front end of getting in front of your customer, then you got a really heavy lift in the meeting, right? So I know that some of us may be starting off, or maybe we're in our journey at the beginning and we don't have a lot of time and effort, but there's a lot of automation programs that can help you kind of, send this information out. But really, stepping forward a little bit into the ether of understanding your pre-sales program is important. Now, I'm going to break this down just to give you a little bit of an illustration of the process right now, of the 5-step approach, because in every step I have 5 steps, pre-sales, during the sale, post-sale. Now, this took me a long time to build. And why I say that is that in here, we're going to talk about the art of the follow-up. We're going to talk about follow-up, and during the end of it, where you should be following up. Whenever you're having conversations with customers up front, it's easier to have conversations about what they know than what they don't know, right? Because what they don't know are obviously might be challenges. They may not be the right customer for you. You may have some situations where they're not the right fit for you. And we spend a lot of time and effort on those guys. So helping them understand more about you on the beginning is a big step forward in the right direction. So here's what we're going to look at. So I'm going to share this with you. Let me pop this in here. Before I get too far ahead, let me grab this document. So excuse me while I pick this up. There's going to be a couple of things that I pop in here for you. And one of the things that I'm going to pop in here for you is going to be the Excel version of this document. And then I'm going to give you like the actual full version. I use Trello or Miro, excuse me, to put this out. So let me put these in here real quick so that you guys have them. Did it go in there? Well, it won't let me upload that.
I don't see you.
It won't let me put it in the chat for
Don't let
some.
you put it in there.
Can you allow it or?
Yeah, if not, if you want to send it to me, I can go ahead and post those. But let me check it out.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? So when we start thinking about this, what I want to do is I have this, and I use Miro to do this. This is usually why I do when I work with MSPs to have conversations with them. I use Miro. And really what I do is we go through a process and we really start looking at actions. Like, what do we do whenever we have this pre-meeting? What do you do in your organization? And you guys will have this document here in a minute to fill it out. But what is it that you're doing, right? And how are we touching them, and who are we interacting with? What are the touch points for this customer? Are we acting with sales or marketing, sales? In every stage of your program, you want to stop and ask the question. And even if you guys following along today, if you're inside of in these areas, you can fill out the information yourself so that you can actually populate it. And then the customer follow-up. What's our next step? What are we supposed to be doing after this first part? What do we do? What kind of outcomes are we trying to deliver to our customer? And I'll go over some of that here in a little bit. And then who owns it? One of the things is assigning ownership to it. And what are the opportunities, the challenges? What are some of the things that might happen? And how do we measure it? Now, I'm going to show you here in just a minute what that looks like. But whenever you're thinking about your customer journey, the thing that you want to think about the most is, I know when you're first starting off as an MSP, the thing that you want to do is you want to pop in there and you want to have a conversation. You want to tell them all the fancy things about what you do, but that's not always what they're looking for, right? And you have to, this is what the customer journey map will help you understand is, what do I do and how do I do it and what's working, what's not working, so you can iterate quickly around making sure that your machine starts to turn. One of the challenges in managed services and being an entrepreneur is not knowing how to make it work, right? It's frustrating, and I get it. I did it. I've been there. And it's like, I don't know what I've done differently this month that I didn't do last month. I don't understand. And until you put it out on a board such as this, and you understand the journey that your customer is going through, there's no way for you to meaningfully track it. And so were you able to do it, Juan, or?
No. If you want to send it to me, Juan, I'll go ahead and upload those from my end because I'm sure it will let me.
Yeah,
hold on. Trying to make you a co-organizer, but
let me pop up my email. It'll take a second. But so here's what we're gonna do. So as we wait for those to come out, I'm curious, while we have this break for just a second here, can you guys tell me, I mean, how many of you here today are asking before talking to your customer about your solutions, how many of you are asking questions? I'm just curious about that. How many of you guys out there today are asking customers questions about their business? Pop it in the chat, or if you guys want to interact with me real quick while I send this email. Anybody?
Yeah, the team is asking a lot of questions.
I love it. What kind of questions are we asking?
Yeah, what are you trying to accomplish? Yeah, we're here for a reason. We're having this meeting. Like, what got us here in your mind? I mean, lots of different questions in terms of qualifying where their pain points are or what their objectives are of even having a conversation about IT or managed IT or whatever it happened to be. And typically they're about business, not about IT, because IT exists only for the sake of improving business, not for the sake of IT.
Yeah, like it.
We usually try and learn about we want to know about their business, right? How they got to where they are now, learning more about the individuals and the leadership themselves, where they came from, how did they get to the position that they are, just getting to know them more on a personable level as well.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions you guys are asking right now?
I think first off, if you're going to go into the conversation as a whole, before you start talking about your solution, depending on how you met the person, right? Depending on what the relationship consisted of, but it's all about them. You're supposed to be a therapist long before you're a speaker. So you should ask things you guys just talked about, absolutely. But if they know that you're there to talk about your solution at some point, it's probably a good idea to level set. And just say, hey, look, what we're here to do is learn more about you. I got more questions. Great. Once I hear about that, I want to talk about us, what we do, how we do it, and then we're going to talk about whatever next steps are.
I like it. Well, and that's the thing, right? So when we look at this here, tell me when you guys can see my screen again.
We got it.
Good.
Yep.
Now it's broken, Sean.
I mean, it's a bunch of IT people, and people somehow in the IT world, Teams, nobody's very good at for some reason, or any of these things. How many? Actually, there should be a poll question. How many of you, when you first get on Teams, are on mute and start talking? That should be a poll question.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Dude, it happens 15 times a day, and it's people like that know better that are on this, but also IT people. So it makes it even funnier. It's like, here we are, and it's everybody.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, it's like 80% of the population, maybe even 97%.
Give me 2 seconds here. I'm having to switch these screens around.
Don't worry, I'll tap dance for you while you're doing that, dude. I got you.
It wants so bad to go now to this other screen, and it's broke because I've broken the share.
Nice. So, going back to your conversation we were just having there while we're trying to get you fixed there. Does anybody have a different way they approach the conversation to start off with? Or is there a process? Where does it fall in the process when you're talking to them? Because to me, that's a discovery call, right? Long before a presentation.
Sure.
Does everybody follow that role? Because I know I'm on all this, I'm in a ton of MSP groups, and I once got into an argument with an MSP online because one MSP said, I'm going in for my biggest proposal or presentation ever. What should I do? Should I use a PowerPoint? And the guy goes, just speak from your heart like you always do. You'll get the deal. And I was like, no, that's the worst advice ever. You need to be organized and have a presentation. And the guy told me I was wrong. He'd been in business for a long time. So I thought, then I posed the question. I was like, hey, who here doesn't have an actual physical structure to how they go about talking about their company? There's an elevator pitch and there's a presentation, right?
Yeah.
But does everybody use a presentation deck or something along the lines of some sort of one pager or anything? Let everybody answer at once. Slow down.
Yeah. Did you get it, Juan?
Yes. Got it.
All right. So Jason, you have a leave behind, Jason. What do you leave behind?
It's just a leave. The leave behind is actually only when we close the deal, right? So so that's even further down the process. But it's basically like how to contact us and the basic troubleshooting steps. Here's our email contact information, phone number if you need help. Now you're using us to support you. So
see that's to me, that's client success, right? That's so how do you know that you created a structured, fluid conversation with somebody and touched all the right points about what you're there to talk about, other than based off memory?
That's why I am on this call.
Okay. Good.
I love it.
Very good. I do too, right?
you should see this. So can you guys see this now on my screen, this Excel?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Juan, if you get a chance, you can share that over to them.
The Excel. Yep.
Yeah. And then there is the full customer journey template full map, which looks just like this. You see that one?
Yeah.
So I'm going to send you the Excel. So you guys have the Excel. You're going to see the same exact thing here. So you guys can actually type in here. Notice that there is cells 1 through 9 on this are just for reference. The ones that you can type in, you want to type into these ones down here. Actions, what do we do? Touch points, who, what, where, when, how. So that being said, let's keep moving here because I know we got time. But some of the questions that you might be thinking about asking your customers, and again, I want to show you an example. There's going to be something that we're going to work on. So for you guys that are asking questions today, fantastic. For those of you that aren't asking questions, I highly encourage you to do so because here, and I'll show you the reasons why here in a little bit. But when you're thinking about your business right now, you're thinking about what do my customers need? What do my customers want? What do I need to make it happen? Do I have the right talent? Do I have the right skill set? What do I do? What are my steps to success here? Those are some of the questions we need to be asking ourselves internally, right? And I think that many of you that are joining us here today, and thanks for sticking around through these little difficulties, and thanks for participating. Appreciate you jumping in, Sean. But this is one of the things that we need to be looking at, right? So when you're thinking about your first meeting, when you're having a meeting with your customer, again, back to the first part, we can talk through your customer journey on what are you doing before you get to this point. Right now, some of us said, okay, maybe we are doing something in the beginning, Juan, maybe we aren't. And for those of you that are here and you get that Excel spreadsheet that Juan puts out, you can start listing the things you're doing in there, who's responsible for them, and what are those things happening? Are you getting any results from them? One of the things that we'll also talk about is something called Know Your Numbers, and it kind of ties back to all these things. So these are part and parcel of each other today. So let's talk about this first meeting. One of the main things that we want to do in our first meeting with our customer is we really want to get to know them, right? For those of you that said that you're, trying to figure out some of the questions, we want to get to understanding their needs. We want to understand their budget. We understand their pain. We want to make sure that we, understand their intent if they're looking for somebody. But here's the big one: is the number 5 is how does our offering meet their need? And I think that that's the big thing, right? So a lot of us do something very interesting in the first sale with a customer, right? We'll come in and we'll talk about all of the things that we do, and then we won't necessarily find out if what we do is something they need, right? It's like, so give me an idea. Is this something that, how soon are you guys, what's going on? Like I just told you everything about my business. What's up with you? And they're like, I think we're good, right? So it's really interesting to see the shift. So one of the documents that we're going to be talking about here in just 1 second, and thanks, Juan, for sharing that, is what are your customers not telling you? Because I can ask you a whole bunch of questions. And how many of you guys have ever been to a car dealership? You ever walk into a car dealership with your wallet out and say, take as much money as you want? No. We walk in with no in our mind. No, I'm not going to take your financing. No, I'm not going to go through the extended warranties. No, I'm not going to do all this. And no, I'm not going to pay that price on that sticker window. It's the same thing that happens when you walk into a customer's office is like, no, I don't need your product. It's almost like, yes, I wanted you to come here and I wanted you to talk to me, but no, I don't need you. And it's like, it's so counterproductive. And we walk away like, what the hell happened there? Like, I thought they called us. Like, that was weird. And that may not always be the scenario, but I want you guys to think about it. So this exercise here, if you will, for those of you that can click the link that Juan put in the chat, let's make sure. Juan, was that, okay, cool. So you got them all out there?
Yeah.
If you go ahead and grab this document, I want to go through this a little bit with you guys. If you wouldn't mind pulling it up. Now, here's the thing, right? And this is what your customers aren't telling you. And I want us to just kind of spend a little bit of time around this. This is an interesting exercise. For those of you that are advanced, that have really great organizations and have already done ideal client mapping and profiling and have battle cards and all that wonderful stuff, this might be a little bit of a refresher for you. But I wanted to just kind of pop in here. Yep, Chris says our customers aren't telling us that the impact on their business when things are not aligned or broken. So we absolutely pull that out of them during their first meeting. I like it. But let's talk about, so this document here. So when you're thinking about, and this was a challenge that I saw where I scaled 16 cities across the US, and I had to figure out my sales talk has to be very tight. And I needed it to be synergetic so that when I walked into Miami, it was the same thing in Durango, Colorado. And I needed to know what they were saying in St. Louis, if the same thing that was happening down in Houston, right? And so when you're thinking about the repeatable notion, I wanted a machine that just generated revenue so that I could scale and make profits. And that sales mechanic came from a lot of this. And so this exercise here is fun. I do this with MSPs all the time. And it's interesting, and I'll do the same with you guys today, is if you guys just in your head, pick the customer that you like the most. When you think about this under customer type, and I want you to look at persona first. Persona is they're easy to do business with. And if you look at the persona and just put in easy in there, and then you put in the customer type, what customer type is that? Is it healthcare? Is it legal? Is it finance? Is it retail? Who is that customer type? And I want you just to be general in this notion in this particular arena, because I want you to just think through what's my customer that I think is the right type. And in this one should be the Word document. It is the what your customers aren't telling you blank template, if you will, in the SharePoint. So if you guys want to open that, and in there you can just type in the first one. Word is weird at the top, so sorry, I can't fix Word. Maybe one day I'll figure out how to autofill an Adobe document in the middle of the night, but I made it in Word. Usually we do this by handwritten. I'm on a whiteboard and people are writing it down at the desk, so my apologies. But an example is here, well, I should say this. I want us to think about what we do, right, as MSP capabilities. So your organization, what do you do, right? Do you have Monday through Friday support? Do you offer backup and disaster recovery? What is it that you do? Like, what do you sell? How do you sell it? And just put that in capabilities on one row. And then when you put that in one row, I want you to think about the business need for this persona and this customer type. Like, what do they need? Do they need 8 to 5 Monday through Friday? Put it in there. Do they need whatever it is, but don't make sure that you have their full needs and ask questions. Do they need backup? Do they need DR? Do they need VoIP solutions? And when you get to that point, and I'll give you guys a couple minutes as you're filling it out, because I don't want to advance past you, but I'm going to show you an example here while you're thinking about it. Here's the meat and potatoes behind what I'm looking at, right? So as you come in here and fill out your capabilities on the left, and then I picked healthcare in this particular scenario. And that persona is generally needy. And again, healthcare, I didn't pick acute care because there is a delineation there. I picked hospital. And hospitals require certain things. And so I put my solution on one side. And then in the business needs, I put what they need. They need 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. They need 24-hour on-site support. They need backup and DR. They need remote help desk. They need project support. They need manufacturer warranty support, 30-minute SLAs. They need compliance assistance, on-prem server support, voice server support, they need all those things. Now, this isn't an extensive list. I'm not doing this to make this like an exact science for healthcare or for the hospital type. But you can. That's the reason I gave it to you the way I did, so that you can go in and add or remove fields as you need to see fit and you want to dive into them. But here's the exercise, right? So if I'm looking at what they need against what I do, and I do the same thing they need, I put a plus. And that's what that column is, the plus or minus there, right? So if I do 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, hey, they need 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Great. Oh, here's a little bit of the next one, right? I offer 24-hour remote support because I third-party my help desk. I don't offer on-site, and they need 24-hour on-site, so that's a minus, right? And the exercise is to kind of get to a point where you either find out whether or not this customer has a lot of pluses or a lot of minuses, and then there's a total at the bottom. And this is a 50-50 deal, right? So if you take a percentage and look at that, that's a 50-50 deal. Now, here's the thing. When I think about, like, and then there's also this section here, general pains. I like to list general pains. What are some of the things that they're generally, that are general pains in their organization? And what are some of the pressures? I call pressures the thing that make them do something. Whether they got reputational situations like lawyers, like if they had some sort of thing happen, their reputation's done. Like, is that a pressure? Is PCI compliance? Like, what are the things that do it? What make them do something, right? If they don't have a lot of pressure to do something, what are they going to do, you guys? They're not going to do anything.
Right.
Yeah. And we all know that, right? We know that some of these guys don't want to do anything. It's like, oh, well, why not? I don't understand. Well, I don't have any pressure. It's like, I use this explanation often. If I'm on a diet plan, I go to the gym every once in a while. I try to eat healthy every once in a while. That's not pressure. But if I went to the doctor and the doctor told me, Juan, if you don't go to the gym and you don't eat right, you're going to pass away or you're going to have major complications and potentially lose your life, that's pressure. And you bet your ass I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to eat healthy, right? So when you think about those things, what makes customers do something, not whether or not they just need it or not? Like, is that a true pressure? And that's how you figure out whether that goes in there or not. And I really want you to think about that, because that aligns to what you do, then make that part of your story. But here's the thing that they're not telling you, right? So when I go in to talk to a customer and I want to ask the right questions, I want to ask questions that only lead back to what I do. Because here's the thing, 90% of the time we'll go in and ask questions. You guys hear about ChatGPT? What does that have to do with you? That has nothing to do with you. And I used to get salespeople doing stuff like that all the time. And I'm like, why did you waste time asking that question? We have no answer for anything that could come out of that. And they're like, oh yeah, I saw, ChatGPT, that's a big thing. And then they try to tie it back to like, the security vulnerabilities of using it and trying to twist that into like some sort of shadow IT conversation. And it's like, and then tying it back to like a data loss prevention policy. And I'm like, guys, you're grasping. Don't do that. Like, only ask questions that are synergetic to our offering. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that in your world. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I wanted my salespeople asking the questions that steer to our offering, because in our deal autopsies, when I look at what did you ask them, I need to know the questions they were asking. And I'm like, why did you ask that? What was the point of that question? And they're like, oh, well, I don't know. It sounded cool. I saw it on CNN last night. And I'm like, we can't solve the hack on the freaking pipeline. I don't even know what difference does that make? We don't even have ransomware protection that we offered that could have stopped that, right? So like, why would you bring it up? And so it was interesting that to true up those conversations. And so here's the hack, right? This is a MSP question of the day hack. If I'm going to ask questions, I want to know what I do is something they need. And then I want to ask questions that are relative to what I do. And that's what this is intended to do. Now, I don't want to go after this customer that's a 50% customer in healthcare, because it doesn't really match up with what I do well. Every one of you here is different. And this is why I do it this way, because I don't want to make you somebody you're not. I don't want to tell you to ask these other kind of questions. I want to just, here's who you are. These are the customer types. If you see them that way, then you ask those kinds of questions that lead back to solutions that you have. That's what this is for, right? So this is fun to do because you can do it with your team, and you can kind of do it on a whiteboard, and you sit down. And I've broken down pretty much every customer type when I work with MSPs, and I'm like, let's go through them all. Like, who's your favorite customer and who's your worst customer? And then as you look at it, it's like, well, our worst customer is a 20% match. And I'm like, because they're making you do, every time there's a minus, they're pushing you outside of your comfort zone. They're making you do something you don't. And that's a big no-no. You want to stay away from liability city, right? So if you don't do it, stay away from it. You know what I mean? And so that's why you might want to think about the kind of customers that make up. And I can't tell you what an ICP, let's see, do you feel that these questions would be universal for your organization for the customer type? In theory, technically, yes. Because if I got healthcare and hospital and I come up with the top 7 questions that I need to ask this type of customer, I get to the no either really quick or really fast. because if I understand these things and I know them really quick, then I know whether or not this is going to be a good customer. And I use this as a sales training tool for salespeople so that they stop bringing deals to the table that aren't good for us. I just do not, I don't like deals that are going to make us do things we're not supposed to do. Right. And that's where we get a lot of that. So you guys that are trying to hire salespeople, you're like, all right, so here's what we do. Good luck. And they're like, all right, cool. I'm going to go out. And then they come back with a wireless deal for like the city of Plano. And you're like, what the hell is that? You're like, we don't do wireless for the city of Plano. And you're like, but it's a $4 million deal and we got to do an RFP. And they guarantee like there's only be 3 bidders. And like, we got this. And I'm like, where did we lose ourselves? Because that has nothing to do with anything we do. Right. So, and that's the frustration. It's frustrating for not only the business owner, it's not only frustrating for the managers and the technicians and the engineers. It's super frustrating if we were to sign that deal for the engineers and the end users and all of our people in the company to support something that we don't do. So every one of those motions, and that's why this is so important. And it makes it really pleasant to close customers that we can service really well. And this exercise gives you that. You can see with clarity that I can support that customer very well. And I encourage you guys to do this. I'm going to go through a little exercise here in a little bit that'll kind of dive a little deeper. But if you guys want to do more of this, you guys have more questions around this. Rob, you're shaking your head. What are you thinking?
You're preaching to the choir. I'm a firm believer of doing exactly what you're doing here. And if they're less than a 60, let's move on.
Oh, yes. I like that. So have you ever done something like this?
I have. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, cool. Awesome, man. I'm excited about that. So there's something on top of this. Now, a lot of this stuff, guys, I'll be honest with you, I've created a lot of this myself. I'm not borrowing it for anyone. People have said, hey, have you ever seen this? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So a lot of this, if you have seen it, awesome, man. But I have never, this is literally homegrown stuff this is the way you can even tell the roughness of the way I created it. But it was like, these were hacks internally for us to look at it. And we used to use them in deal autopsies to look at the customer type. And then we have a scoring system. I don't build one for every client, and I didn't build one for every client, but we would use a scoring system for every deal. And I can share that with you guys if you're interested. It's a big scoring system, and it basically, when you understand your offering and the questions you should ask and your process, does it align? You only ask those questions and it comes up with a score, and then it has like a totaling on the side that we created. But if you guys want that, I'm happy to share it. I didn't have it in the share that I gave today, but I will share it with you guys if you want it. So
I used to use that scoring system as well. And if it was below 80%, when the salesperson filled it out, he had to get 2 managers in the company to sign off on it before he could even move forward.
I love that story. And that's the same way it was for us. It was like, if we even had at the bottom, they could score themselves at the deal, and it was 60 or below. It says not quite a deal yet. If it was 60 to 70, you're not quite there. Go back and see if you can move that score up in these areas. And then if it was 80 and above, then yeah, I'm with you. So I love that. And it's really fun to do as an exercise, right? Because now I know what you're going to say. So then I would do scenarios, right? So you go to your sales team or your entire team and you're like, hey, I'm a healthcare customer, and go. And then just ask questions. And if they tried to sell me, I'd be like, wrong. That's the wrong answer. You didn't ask any questions. You're pitching. You're planting. You're leading the witness, as I called it. I used to tell them in the sales, I was like, you're leading the witness. So let's and I'm sorry, we're having like a deluge here in Texas. Apparently we're just getting flooded. So here's the thing, right? So as we start to talk about this, back to the process, right? Understanding the customer needs, identifying their budgets, clarifying the pain, confirming the intent for the deal, and discussing how your offering meets their needs. This is why you want to do step 1, is understanding the customer needs and ask questions that only you have answers to. This is a huge thing. And the best part, if you saw some of those in there real quick, as I go back for a second, and you guys have a copy of this. How important is compliance to your company? How important is fast response? I know that most organizations like yours require fast support. How slow support been a concern for you in the past? it gives you ways to plant, like have a magic 8 ball. Like I already know some of your problems and I'm going to basically bring them to you and put them right in front of you. And they're like, my God, this guy knows us like the back of his hand. And it's like, that's what customers buy. They buy that you know their business. It's not about the tech. It's not about the delivery. They're going to dive into it and they're going to look at your plan and they're going to say, okay, Juan, I can't really afford that plan. But they're not going to argue with you over whether or not you're going to put a FortiGate or a WatchGuard in there. I mean, that's not necessarily going to be the argument you're going to get, right? So, and again, sorry, I didn't mean to say the vendor names, but I'm usually pretty good about not saying that. But I'm just saying from a theory perspective, that's where we're at. So let's keep moving. So the process is, the program is the plan, right? Our program is designed to protect you from X. Is this important to you? Spell it out. How do you make it measurable? Show how you can show progress with it. The big thing, and I mentioned it a moment ago, what buyers want, and I'm going to take you into the sales motion, is buyers say, 69% of them say they listen to my needs. I can't tell you how many sales people I have taken on a ride along, because I would always go ride along with the salesperson. I say, just be quiet for a little bit. I'm going to show you how I do it. And then I would go in and I ask a few questions, and then we walk out. And they'd be like, how did you do that? And I'm like, because I just listened to them. They're like, dude, I can never get customers to talk like that. It's because I asked the right questions. I asked what was important to them. I asked them about their business. What was the strategic component of the technology that they were looking for us to deliver? What are they after, right? And I was never pushy. And we can feel that way. Like when we come in and we start talking about our product and we're really excited and we're like pumped up and ready to go. And we're like, man, I got this. I've got this pitch down. Like I know this, everything that these guys need. I'm going to tell them everything that they need. And I'm going to walk out of here with a deal. They say, don't be pushy. Give me relevant information. 51% of companies want salespeople to just respond. I mean, they're not looking for us to push product down their throats. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we don't really understand that. Some days we're like, look, I got to figure out how to close this business today because I got to make payroll by Friday. And I really need this deal. So we get ahead of ourselves and we start push a little bit maybe where we shouldn't. And that's where the danger happens. So we want to be cautious. And again, if we drive salespeople to do those same things and we create those habits on the back end, I always say, I have to understand what I'm asking people to do. And if I'm asking people to go out and sell something, that's one thing. I stopped calling salespeople, I call them solutioneers, or questionnaires is the way I use it internally. All I want you to do is ask questions and qualify our product. That's it. Our process closes itself. I don't need you to close anything. I don't need you to sell nothing today. I need you to ask questions. And that's where I think you have to think about your process. How does it synergize with your customer? What's the experience? Are you doing the things? Are you making it easy to have conversation? And that's where all this ties up. So let me give you a quick scenario, right? This is a really interesting one. I'll just rip it off as if I was having a meeting. My name is Juan Fernandez, and I run an innovative technology company here in town that works with companies like yours. But before I dive in, I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. So tell me about your business. How are you using technology today? We work with companies to help them make technology a strategic advantage, ensure that they have a strategic plan to make the best use of it. Does that sound good to you? Right? What are some of the technologies that are working? What are some of the things that aren't? Obviously, since we work with companies like you, we also see these types of issues all the time. Some of the things we do to solve for that is X. Obviously, price is important to you. How important is price to you? Or obviously, price is important, but how important is price to you? I always like to qualify whether or not my solution is too important, right? Or is too expensive, excuse me. And one place our customers are most concerned with is cybersecurity. Is that a concern for you as well? And then explain maybe a little bit. We have a comprehensive offering of services that address your concerns. And as we dive in, we'll be able to talk through your needs and see how we can solve them. And our process consists of an assessment. Can we do that now, or can we schedule it this week? It usually takes a few hours, but it won't disrupt business, and it'll allow us to come back with a complete report for us to discuss. And one final question is, since it sounds like we're a good fit, then would it make sense for us to plan to bring you on as a customer should everything work out? Our onboarding usually takes about 30 days, but we want to make sure to plan accordingly and make sure that there's a smooth transition without disruption. When you think about the way you have conversations with customers, it's interesting when you think about the questions that you can ask when you know exactly where you want them to go. And that being said, in the first meeting, that's why it's important to spell out, what is it that you're trying to do? Can you ask questions to clarify pain points and, understanding the needs of and defining a budget? Instead of coming in hot and popping them with, hey, here's our technology, here's our stack, here's the things that you need to be doing. We know this type of customer, and you guys that are here today all know this too well. I mean, I'm sure we've all at least once or twice attempted to do something like this. But and really, I want you guys to look at the map and really think about who is the customer interacting with at that first meeting. Is it the customer that's acting with sales? I mean, are we using some one-pagers and some slicks? That's marketing. Are we introducing our VCIO or our TAM? Do we have customer success associated with it? And what's the follow-up? How are you guys following up with that? What are the things? And I'll go through some of that here in just a second. But again, back to the outcomes. I leave the outcomes blank on purpose because I don't want to influence you in this way, but I want you to come up with some outcomes of what are some of the things that you should be delivering and talking about with your customers. Because one of the beauties behind having a journey map is that I don't have to explain to you the tech that I'm going to be using. I'm going to talk about the business outcome, right? I understand that cost is important too, but with our solution, that's the beauty of it. We have a refined process that really manages cost over time and really helps you create a budget and a plan so that you can actually manage the technology you need. And we even have X as a service models where you can actually afford all the technology you need today for a fraction of the cost with a 3-year lifecycle management plan. So we really help you get everything that you need for the price that you can afford, and we can come up with that strategic plan, right? I'm literally telling you exactly my process. I'm not telling you nothing about the tech. We can figure out the tech later. And this is where I think we're at. And then if you look at it from this measurement and you have these types of conversations, now I'm talking about things that they can grasp onto. Because the second that I tell them that their subnet is malformed and that their hypervisor is probably not performing appropriately because of, network traffic or bandwidth limitations, they're going to look at you like, I don't really know what that means. It sounds cool though. And that's where I think, and I'm not trying to say that we're doing that, but oftentimes we put ourselves in that arena where we fall into the comfort zone of trying to explain the tech versus trying to explain what they understand. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful and say that they can and they're not smart enough. There's some very savvy customers. If you do co-manage, that maybe they have a tech team, they know what we're talking about. And that's an appropriate people. But when you're talking to the decision maker of that organization, they care about the return on investment. They care about the outcomes that they're going to get, cost, consciousness, all the different things. So this is part of that journey map, right? You want to make time to build time into that step one. So as you step down the path, right? So let's say we had the first meeting and we've done our assessment. Now we need to do findings and recommendations. I don't want to give you any inferences of how you want to do an assessment because everybody does them quite differently. Whether you do an automated tool or you have somebody come in or you do some sort of CMMC assessment or compliance or NIST or whatever it is you're doing, I don't know. But when you come back to have a conversation with your customer, so I won't speak to the assessment phase of this, but when you come back to have a conversation with your customer about your findings and recommendations, make sure you have everything that you needed covered. I see this oftentimes where we'll shortchange ourselves on the findings and recommendations in the assessment phase. And then we come back and just blind, we're trying to get to revenue really quick. And they're like, hey, look, I'm just going to sign up this customer and get them in here right away and sell some licenses. And, it's just really easy because if I tell them that it's going to cost a lot of money, then they're probably not going to buy it. So I don't want to waste a lot of time with them. So let's just see if they buy, let's just tell them it's $75 a seat times 100 and just get them done. And we'll onboard and we'll figure it out later. Well, that's cool. And it works because I've done it. But that's not exactly what customers are really looking for. And if you want a long-term relationship, you're going to win and lose at onboarding. And I say that all the time because if you onboard them and you find a million other things, they're going to look at you like, man, that's a bad first impression. Like, you had an opportunity to look at everything and you chose not to. Now all of a sudden you want more money from me because now, like, that's really a weird place to be. And I know that some of us have been there before. So taking time to really help them through that front end and doing the assessment right and making sure you have everything is really a critical component. And again, I don't want to tell you how to run your business, but in that findings meeting, you know, depending on what you're going to do, and I always say this, so I used to use a QBR process in mine. And the reason that I did a QBR process, and it was really a relationship tool, I would start QBRing them the second that I talked to them. So as soon as they came in, I was already in the QBR process with them. And I was literally walking them through our QBR process the second that we walked in. And this is what I call a soft close technique. Now, I teach this whole class around the soft close and really making sure that you engineer the process to actually close itself. But what I did in the QBR process was I stopped doing what everybody else was doing, was, you know, starting and stopping and starting and stopping. I started from the moment by explaining our process, and they knew that moment. And I even brought out a QBR, and here's the relationship that you'll have with us. Right now, here's the phase we're at. The next step, we're going to be at this step. The next step, we're going to come in and do an assessment. We're going to come back, findings, recommendations. If you love everything that you hear and we come up with that strategic plan, the next step we're going to run into is we're going to go and sign contracts, and we're going to start onboarding 30 days. We won't do any projects, but after 30 days, after we onboarded you, on the 31st day, we will actually have another meeting with you, and we're going to go on and start planning your projects out for the next 12 months. Now, if you count what I did there, I actually got them past their renewal because I actually now have them for 13 months, and the way I did my program so that I could help move them past the renewal phase, because that's also a stopping point. I try to remove friction and give the VCOs the best opportunity. So when you're thinking about your process and your plan, yeah, I used a VCI, I used a QBR, you can call it a TBR or whatever you're doing, but I encourage you to do something that's going to get them to continually do stuff with you. I don't know what that is, but if you guys, how many of you guys do QBRs right now? A number of us? Okay. So for those of you who do them, I encourage you to do them. It's a strong tool. But I will say, use it as a demonstration in your initial meeting with your customer, because it's a fantastic closing tool. With that, demonstrating your process for success over the next 12 months, when you first meet them, it is a big competitive advantage. And so many customers used to say, man, I wish my MSP did this. I wonder why they don't do it. Well, why don't they do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I know why they don't do it. I don't know why they don't do it. I can't tell you. So I got a question for you guys. For those of you that do QBRs, how many of you have a drawn out map process? Like you've drawn it out, like physically, like it's sketched out on something and everybody can look at it. How many of us here? Comment in the chat if you have or haven't.
The sales process or the onboarding process?
Any process. Rob, you done it?
Yes,
All right.
we've got both mapped out.
I like this. Rob, you're batting here, man. So for those of you, and the reason I asked this question, you know, recognize in life that there are different kinds of learners, right? As I recognized this when I wrote the MSP Owner's Handbook, there are people that learn by reading. There's people that learn by, you know, visual, audio. There's people that learn by, you know, hands-on. There's a number of different ways that people accept and learn. And when you're working with your customers, one of the easiest things to do and one of the easiest ways to communicate is visually. And I want to share something with you, because this comes out of your customer journey map. Because as you write what you do back to the process, you can actually show a customer exactly how you do it in a very easy way, right? You can add this to your deck when you're actually going out and saying, here's our process. This is what you can expect from us. This is the process, and this is the way we're going to be functioning with you. Here's our sales order process. This is what happens that when you order something. How many times have you guys ordered something and have a customer call pissed off that it's not there in the next day? I ordered that from you 24 hours ago and it's not here yet. Well, let's just stop that nonsense up front by spelling out expectations. And if you don't spell out expectations from the beginning, there will be inferences that you will have it to me by tomorrow. And so when I paid for overnight shipping, I expected it to be here, not knowing that there was a processor shortage, a chip shortage across the world, and that you're not getting it for 120 days overnight. Right? So when you have a understanding of your program and explaining to your customers exactly what it is that they should expect from you, it's a lot easier to have the conversation than it is to just be like leaving it open-ended as, oh, well, I placed an order. And you tell them this is taking between 17 and 30 days right now. They're going to call you in 7 days and be like, dude, where's that PC? Like, my PC's slow again. Like, why is it not here yet? And you're like, well, remember I told you it was 17 to 30 days. And they're like, no. But if you have a little graphical thing that you can send to them and be like, hey, look, this is our process. Like, I'm just being honest with you. I don't have any way to change the way we do things. Like, we have, when it comes in, it's got to go through stuff, and I'll try to rush that along. But I just, I need you to understand. I mean, it really gets rid of conversations. To your point a minute ago, Robert, your help desk routing. What should I expect when I call into your help desk? These are things that can become outputs from your customer journey map, right? So as you're going through each one of these things, everyone here is a part and parcel of becoming part of the sale of your program. Because I can take these things and go back to my customer and be like, here's exactly how you're going to interact with us. Here's how, if you send in a ticket this way, it's going to work. And if you send in a ticket that way, it's going to work. And here's our process for your success along the way. I'm setting clear expectations. And that's where I think it's really meaningful. And this is where I think everybody can participate, because everybody here has a role to play in this, and whether or not this is real or not. Because if it's not real, then don't publish it. And if it is real, then fantastic. I encourage you. This was one of the best moments, was when our team unlocked the simplicity of what we did, and we knew it worked. Everybody was like, hold on a second. I don't have to lie about it not working anymore. And it's like, no, it works. And that was the funnest moment in the entire history of creating anything, because everybody knew that what we did worked, and it worked, and everyone understood it, and we were all on the same page. Everyone was talking about the same thing. And that's what I want everyone else here to have today, is understanding that this customer journey is just, it's employee success as much as it is customer success. Because I come in and I can see what to expect. Now, I'm not saying this is a beautiful world and there's never going to be any issues. Don't think that. But if I get the customers that synergize with my program and I understand the process to supporting them, it becomes a lot less chaotic. If I'm not doing things I shouldn't be doing because it doesn't fit my mold, it becomes a lot less noisy and a lot more appreciative, even at the employee level. They're happier. They could take time off. Everybody knows how to do things. Your documentation's clean. I don't have to be scrambling around to figure it out. This is the beauty of what you get from that. So again, back to the people buy plans that demonstrate success. When I would take that in, it would be really hard for other MSPs to challenge those types of things, because that was a really elegant approach to support, and it was really easy for people to understand. I could show them completely end-to-end all the systems and solutions that we use and the way we support them. And it really made the story very clear. Because right now, a lot of us have to deal with a lot of bad actors, right? A lot of MSPs or technology people. Like, I got a guy that helped me and he didn't know what he was doing. And we get the flack for those people that didn't know what they were doing supporting customers, right? And we take the hit, and we have a battered relationship, and they're jaded with us, and we get all that negativity. But when you have a clear and concise program that they can see, it moves them past this negativity level of, oh my God, no, 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 no. So let's talk about the closing meeting real quick here. And I want to talk about this. This is back to the the slot machine. In the closing meeting, I always used to tell the salespeople, if we walked out with a no, it's because we walked in with it. And, and that's generally because we were going into a customer type that we shouldn't have been in. We were going in with the questions that we didn't know that we were going to get asked. And it was usually young reps. They were always like, oh, just let me at it. I know how to do this. I can pitch anything. I can sell anything. And I'm like, that's what everybody says. everyone thinks that just because they need IT, that they're just gonna buy it. That's not how that works. But you go try, and you come back and let us know. And then when you're ready to learn, we'll go through the program. And this is where I think you have to understand, does the house win, right? And this is the process for winning all the time. And I think that your customer journey helps you spell that out. But again, you have to understand your process. You have to go through it, understand the need of the customer, understand their budget, clarifying the pain, confirming the intent. And engineering for the yes, right? We want the yeses in this world. We don't want the no's. So as you're thinking about your customer journey, the template that we gave you guys, and we also gave you the what customers aren't telling you, all those things tie each other together. It doesn't take a long time. I get that from a lot of people that, building a business like this one is going to take me forever to go through our whole thing. It doesn't take that long. And it doesn't take that long to change and tweak, because you got probably pretty good processes now. It's just a matter of tweaking them and making them meaningful, and then making sure there's something that you should be doing and something or you shouldn't be doing. So I always say this should always be closing. When you start off in your conversation, the goal to help them in a closing meeting is to help them understand why, your cybersecurity or protection or your program is important. And, you're asking questions that only to answers that you have. You only want answers to questions that you want, right? The goal here is to help them understand that you have the answers for their business. If I go in there, again, I don't need to belabor the point, but asking a lot of loose questions will get you in a lot of rabbit holes. And really, ultimately, at the end of the day, that you have the program that's going to help them. Asking your questions about your buyer's goals and pain point leads to better sales success, and that's coming from Gong, And this is interesting when we think about this. This is the arena of outside of our realm of technical, right? It's this new consultative world that we're looking at, and this education and teaching world that we're living in today. There's so much tech that can solve so many problems. It's like, what problem do you have? Because I have access to every single thing that you could possibly think about. But what do I do professionally that delivers what they need is really the conversation you want to elaborate on it in the closing meeting. And make sure that your process is clear and concise, right? I would bring this out and I would tell them, here's exactly what to expect. Like right now, we're right here. We're at the customer meeting and presentation right now. And the next one is going to be, our process, if we were having a first call, would be the next one is a customer meeting and presentation. Then we're going to do a site assessment. And then we're going to sign a pre-services agreement. And then we're going to have you sign off on that. And then we're going to enter the order into the system. And it's going to take, a couple of days. And then we're going to have to approve it. And then we're going to go through our contracts process. And we're going to have everything set up for you to get you onboarded and then get you introduced to the help desk. And then we're going to go and have you sign contracts for the rest of your projects. But it was interesting to have these conversations because they knew what to expect. They're like, oh, wow, if they've gone through this much work to document everything, then how bad could they be? And we didn't want to be bad. We wanted to be good. And that was the whole point behind it. And this is where I think, in that Miro board, you got to spell out, what do you do in that closing meeting? How are you doing it? How are you presenting it? Again, back to it. Are you presenting your process? Or are you presenting a product? It's up to you, right? I mean, there's a lot of companies that are like, look, Juan, I just want to be a value-added reseller and I'm good. And I'm fine with that too. I mean, that's wonderful. Just know what you're delivering, right? If you're delivering the cheapest price, then that's cool too. I mean, everyone, you can do that. I have a lot of friends that make a lot of money on selling circuits as agents, and they do millions of dollars a year. And it's just what you're going to do as a company. Like, what's your process to positioning that in your closing meeting and being very conscious of, does this actually resonate with what they originally wanted? And then back to somebody had asked earlier, did you do this for every customer type? I came up with a standardized program of who I was and what I wanted to be, and I based it on what I wanted and profitability that I wanted and scalability and all those things. And then I worked my way backward into the customer type. And I figured out what customer types are going to work really well with me. And then I focused on those ones because I felt like that was a lot less friction for my team. And we would only bend the rules if they fit 100% within our program. And that was the only way I'd be willing to do it, because I needed to make sure that I can make payroll and that everybody was happy, and that I had a team that was that wanted to come to work tomorrow. Because if I didn't have that, then I got nothing, right? Because half of what I was a services company, and I needed people to come to work. So that's an important notion. So I'm curious, how many of you guys, like the ones that are here with us, what's your closing meeting look like now? Like, how do you guys do it? Rob, how do you do it?
I think it's different. It's different every time. I mean, sometimes we force the sale and get the ink and run. You know, I think it's different every time. And I'm not on all of the sales meetings that our team goes on, but I've seen both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I get it. Anyone else want to share any of their closing meetings, like how they do it? There's no good or right. There's no right or wrong answers here. Well, that being said, let's move on to step 4. So I said this earlier, you win or lose at onboarding. And again, back to your customer journey, having a clear and concise onboarding. One of the things that I loved sharing was our processes. I loved sharing with our customers exactly what they could expect during onboarding. And one of my favorite things was onboarding. And I'll share with this one of this wonderful things. And because I'm not in the MSP space anymore, obviously as a recovering MSP, we would onboard our customers and we would tell them, all right, hey, we're going to come in and onboard you. And during the time that we come in and onboard you, we're going to introduce our program and how to contact us and our process and the ticket process and everything to your entire staff. And we're going to come in and we're going to buy you lunch. So we want everyone here, like if you guys do an employee meeting, all hands or something like that, we want to come in and introduce our team, our whole team, so that you know who you're going to be talking to. And everybody will tell a little bit about them and something they need to know. But one of the things is when we onboard you, we're going to go through this whole process. Every computer is going to be clean. We're going to go around and monitor and ask everybody how applications work in their worlds and document the whole world. And we're not going to leave until it's done. And so we'll buy lunch and we'll come in and we'll tell you all about us and let a lot of people ask questions. And that was probably my favorite part of onboarding. We had a 65-page Excel document that we went through to document the world and every process inside of that customer's environment. And we even drew facility maps. We take their exit plans and put the computers down. And I used to say the reason we're doing that is because our help desk was in Durango, Colorado. And I needed to give them visibility to what they're talking about. Like when you pulled up maps, like, okay, well, cool. Where are you at, Tina? Oh, you're at the front desk. All right, I got you. And you want that one that's on your left-hand side behind you? Got you. I'm going to hook you up to that printer. Or your access point, or I could see where the access points were. And, oh, okay, I can see why that access point's actually down. Hold on a second. Let me reroute you to another one or something along those lines. That was probably the most impactful moment. And we used to say it all the time, you win and lose at onboarding. And that was like our static program. But when I would go to customer meetings in the initial and tell them how we onboarded a customer, they would look at that thing and be like, I bet you $10 that our current MSP doesn't have half of that. And I'm like, that's why you're talking to me, because you're looking for a better experience, right? You're looking for a more comprehensive solution. You're looking for a way to not have to worry about IT. And so onboarding is an important step. So spend time on this with your team to understand your onboarding. This is probably the funnest part. And again, when you go through your onboarding, here's a double use hack to that. It now becomes your training manual for new employees. I used to put it in OneDrive and we would go through each segment, and that thing was, okay, so now I gave you a framework. I defined success within that role for that position because I had it so well documented that anyone that came in, it didn't matter what you came in as, you sat on the help desk and you onboarded customers, because I needed you to understand exactly how we did things so that you didn't get crazy and go do some loose things on, oh, well, I'm just not going to document that hypervisor because there's 42, machines on it. Nope, get in there. Right? So document your onboarding. Make sure you have a comprehensive support process, and then make sure that you have a process for success. Clarify your objectives with your customers so that they know what you're doing. Clearly articulate the products and programs you'll be implementing. Share that with the employees of the company, the best people, the influencers, everyone in that organization. You guys know how this works. You know that Nancy at the front desk runs that office and that she can say that you're out of here at any moment of time. You know that's how this works, right? So making sure you're setting up timelines and defining timelines and a process that'll occur during the time and when it's going to happen in your QBR process or whatever with your onboarding. Make sure you educate the staff. Make sure that not only do the stakeholders understand the program, but also the entire staff. I used to love going in and having a conversation and closing them and saying, hey, we're going to refresh 24 computers and these are the computers we're thinking of. And can we put these on a life cycle? And then I go and tell the people at onboarding, guess what? The ownership, all you 24 people that have slow computers, the boss said we can replace them. And guess what? It'll be happening over the next 9 months. Immediate friends, right? So it was wonderful to use those as pressure points as negotiation tactics to be like, hey, well, this is Mary and she's excited about her new computer. And yeah, we followed up with her after it was done and she's so happy now. And like you take that information back to the stakeholder and let them know the decisions they're making in their business are really working. That's part of educating the staff and also having a communication plan. You know, interacting often with the right people, making sure you have a plan for them and keeping the conversation going to make sure the customer feels like they made the best choice. Don't let it go stagnant, you guys. And I know you know this, but one of the challenges is when their customer's not talking to you. And that's not because they're not nothing going on in their organization. There's a lot of stuff going on. They're just not talking to you. And it's probably maybe because they might be frustrated or maybe they're just done. Maybe there's a lot of reasons. We can all be honest here in this circle of friends, but we all know that silence is the killer of contracts. And we want to make sure that you keep that conversation and help desk. You guys support everyone here. Oh, Mike's asking me, was your help desk outsourced? Why was it out of state? I started in Durango, Colorado. And so we had it was there in Durango, and to this day, it's actually still there. So we actually it was hard to find techs in Durango, Colorado. Trust me. So I had to like teach them how to do a lot of stuff. But yeah, it was in Durango, and then we scaled it, and like it was very interesting to scale out of Durango. So, but that being said, that's the thing, right? Is that when you have it very elegantly planned, and then you can reiterate around your onboarding, it just keeps ebbing and flowing. You find new things. That spreadsheet started off at 12 pages. It was a book, and now it was like 64 at the end with very clear and concise onboarding. And they were proud of that. Everyone was proud of our onboarding. We knew we were doing a good job, and that's where I think we find a lot of. Did we ever use after-hours support? We sure did. As a matter of fact, we got too big. We had to actually add third-party support from another organization. But yes, I used Continuum. I actually was one of their largest partners. I'm not here to sell Continuum, but yes, I did. And that we were, we were like their growth partner in 2019, and because we were just growing like a weed. So one of the big things is tracking success. So here we've created our customer journey. We know some questions to ask. We understand that the process is the program, right? So let's dive into this, make it measurable and know your numbers. One of the fun things I love to do, and I don't just put the sales team on blast by, saying, hey, healthcare go, and meeting with them to see what happens and what are they saying? Like, what are you talking about out there? Like, what are we saying as a company? Like, you're our face of the company. Like, what are you saying? I also look internally, and I do this with a lot of MSPs where I sit down with them and say, look, a lot of people are looking for KPIs. What's good? And I get it. But what I steer away from is telling you who you should be by getting industry numbers and saying, this is what good looks like. And I understand that Sleek is a great methodology, and I love that. For me, it was different. I was building something completely different in a different way. And I didn't want to know what other people's KPIs look like. I wanted to know that I was building the business that I wanted. So I would look at KPIs in a much different way. And as I found measurable points inside of my customer journey, I would assign those to people. And you saw that in the Miro board earlier, where there's names, and at the bottom is this measurable? And in that, I would make those measurables owners to those people, because the best company I ever built was one I didn't run. And I let the people run it. I let everyone that I hired to do the job that they were destined to do. This is how I did it. So every week we'd have a meeting, And this is how we would talk about. Marketing had one, the CFO had one, the IT manager had one, the help desk had one, everyone had one. And everybody knew exactly where they were going to report back. And we would see the company growing as an organization. I didn't have to come in and say, guys, we're not growing and I don't know why. I'd be like, we got a problem in support. And that problem is right here. And look at these numbers. Like it's not, and they knew it. I didn't have to tell them. They knew it. They were like, Juan, hey, we got a problem in support. We're going to fix it. And this is what we're doing to fix it. And I'm like, great, let's do it. Let's track it and make sure, because I can see it week over week, either trending up or trending down. Now, down is good if I got customer support requests, but I want to see my customer success going up if I got this going down. So this was really important to make those measurables, KPIs for my business. I wanted to know what my process, and I wanted to measure that, because that's what I cared about, was how am I doing? What's my customer success look like, and how can I measure internally? And that's where step 5 comes in, and that's the follow-up. We talked about this in the very beginning, the 5 steps, the pre-sales, during the sale, and post-sale. One of the places that I'll be flat honest right here, I raised my first hand. I'll be the first person to say it. When I built my first company, I was bad at this. I would go to a meeting, come back, wouldn't respond to a customer for a week, and then wonder why they never call me back. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know why that person is like, when I sent them a quote a week later, they never responded. I was in the business too much. I was, starting it off. I was, really overwhelmed with it. So it wasn't that I didn't want to do this. It was just that I didn't have a process for success. And I didn't know time management if you spun me around and called me time management. I made this purposeful, right? I made this to make it to a point, like, here's my process to do it. And I need to follow these steps continuously. And I stayed in that lane, right? Because the more I got out of that lane, the more it eroded. I just, started to it take me off course. So the more you stay focused on what it is you do, the more you're going to find that it's a lot smoother of a road. And staying in that lane is the lane that you pave, and then you just keep paving over it, and you just keep tending that lane, and you just keep building on that lane, and you make it nice, right? And this is where this really helps, is this 5-step approach, and really understanding, and make it simple. It doesn't have to be really hard. You don't have to make things difficult. Like, there's not a lot to this. It's super simple, right? I'm telling you, I did this exact same thing, and that's how I grew it. And so these are things that I can't tell the exact formula. There is some nuance that I had to change, obviously, for non-compete purposes. But, really following the 5-step process for following up. Following up was a huge thing. Being really quick with that customer on the return, making sure that my process, that I automated that process, that it made me keep going through it. And then once I knew it was forcing me to do it, then I could add people to it, which were VCIOs. And then I could add more people to it, and it made it work. And that machine started to turn, and it was great. And it was really about following up. Even if you automate and you come back and you put them into a HubSpot or a CRM or whatever it is you use, it's really awesome to make it work. But I will say it gets real here, man, and ladies that are with us. Follow-up is a real thing. If you don't do it right, you might as well stop. And I'll be honest with you on that. Like, most deals are lost because of the fact that we're not following up appropriately. If we have a QBR process, make sure you start it as soon as you begin having the conversation, which I mentioned. But if you don't have a plan that's measurable, go back to the drawing board. The no you're going to get is the no, I don't think I see success with you. So if a lot of us are struggling right now, it's just not that they don't need your product, man and ladies. It's just that I just don't see myself being successful with you. Let's just be honest. We're all selling something. And if I don't see myself being successful with you as a company or your program, and you come in and pitch me a product, people are done buying low-cost products. You know what I mean? Like, that used to win back in the day. It doesn't work now. And I mean, yeah, there are people that are, like in the upper echelon where they're enterprise and they're going to battle for the bottom dollar. If that's the business for you, then that's great. Define yourself as that business, but it's going to be really tough bouncing around down here to live like that. So make sure your plan is real and that you can clearly articulate it. Go through the motions of understanding that thing and just rehearse it. Like, each customer you go through, just bounce them through that thing. Look at it. Does it go through clean? Does it come out the other end with $1? Does it fit? Does it work? Now, I'm not going to tell you this is going to happen overnight. It's not. This is going to take a little bit of time, but it won't take you it won't take you years. It'll take you a couple of months to get it all cleaned up and thought through and ironed out, and then you go through the iterations in the process. But you're never too late to start at this point. And that's where I think we talked about earlier, going back to the beginning. So let's talk about it. If you design the program to be the plan, it'll protect you from everything. And it's really, you have to spell it out, make it measurable so you can show it, to make it progress, to show progress on it. And this is where the follow-up, you fill that out, you figure out what your follow-up is going to be, and then you implement your plan. And then you ask yourself, we started asking ourselves questions early on. What do my customers need? I can answer them now. Support, compliance, security, continuity. What do my customers want? Uptime, compliance, reliable, secure solutions. Can I make money on this stuff? Yes. We try to make money, yes, 100%. What's your margin going to look like? Hopefully it's 50%. Maybe it isn't, maybe it is. What will the market bear? What do you need to make it happen? You need process, frameworks, customer journey maps. Do I have the right talent? We'd asked that question earlier. If you don't have the right team, our process can upskill them into our program. People ask me all the time, why am I having a tough time hiring people? And I'm like, so what's your process for hiring people? And they're like, we just put an ad out. And I'm like, so do you have a process to empower them when they get in your organization? Do you talk to them about that? They're like, no, I just need a technician to answer phones. And I'm like, that's the worst job. Like, I hate that job. We all hate help desk job. Who loves help desk job? I left the AOL help desk. I freaking used to take 300 calls a day. Do you want to know why I'm not on AOL help desk? Because I hate that job, right? And AOL had a great process for success. I'll give you a free month, stay. You know what I mean? That's a horrible process, right? So like, do we have a process for success? Maybe that's the problem. That is the reason why we might be having a problem hiring people. There's a story to be told when you're winning. Somebody said recently, would you rather be the winning person on a losing team, or would you rather be sitting on the bench of a winning team? And I thought to myself, and I was like, that's a really interesting question. And I really had a hard time answering it at first. And I thought to myself, well, I'd love to win together, right? Like, that's my thing, and I don't mind sitting on the bench of a winning team when we're winning. But I'd hate to be out there, just be the only one that's winning all the time and not have anyone else following in that success. That would make me sad, because I really want those people to feel like they're part of it. And so how do you make that work? And I think that if you have a process and your steps to success, beginning at step number 1, that'll take you back to all the things that you need to be doing to make sure that you're on a winning team and that you're sitting on the bench as a leader. And you're just cheering them on, like, man, we won that game last night. Like, did you just score a bunch of points? Like, look at all that work. When I did that with my team, they're still to this day running like a machine. And I love the fact that they're doing that. They don't want to leave because of the structure. They don't want to leave. I'm gone. And they don't want to leave. And they're like, wherever you're at, I'm coming. I don't care what it is you're doing, I'm coming there. And I'm like, well, I don't have anything for you where I'm at right now. So, but this is the beauty of it, right? So when you create these types of things, you have an opportunity to create wonderful things. Like, I know that many of you have sales teams right now. An output from your customer journey is a wonderful battle card where you can take something so super concise and actually go out and look at the outcomes that you deliver and really get really tight with what you do and have really meaningful conversations on how you do it and the way that you can even position your initial meeting questions. Like, this would be something we handed to a new rep as a walk in the door with, right? And this is where I think you have to really think about it. And this is what a customer journey might look like. And this is really a step-by-step. We walked through this entire ecosystem the entire time you guys have been on this call with me today. And I know that we're coming to an end here in a little bit, but I want you to take a look at this. And you guys can go grab this. I have a LinkedIn sales managed cybersecurity sales group that I run. It's a masterclass, and I create stuff like this to help people think through the problems and illustrate ways that they can be successful. But this is a customer journey map. I created this for MSPs. This is legit the process we walked through. I've given you how I created it in Miro, but this is what it looks like, what it could look like at the end, so that you can illustrate that process to your team and walk through not everything, it would be a little bit longer obviously it was longer. I had to chop it down to get it to one page, but I can walk a customer through that, and I can talk to MSPs about that. I can talk to my employees about stuff like that. And this is where I think you can generate something really special. Obviously, if you took out the pre-sale and removed that, but kept the first meeting down, you could use that as your one pager for your customer. And this is how we do it. This is our program for your success. And that's where I think the goal is for this entire time we've been talking here, is to make sure that your plan is complete and easy to follow. Remember, our job is to educate the customer now, right? It's building trust and gaining rapport and going through the process repeatedly so that we know it's real, and making sure our entire team understands the process. And, that gives us the autonomy to step away from the business. And it gives us the autonomy to build new leaders. And that's what we really want. Again, back to the equation I told you guys earlier. If Juan equals the problem, Juan is the problem. So how do you get Juan out of the problem? And I don't mean Juan Mac. I was talking about me as a leader. How do you remove yourself from the problem? That's the biggest challenge that we have. And that's how you empower others. And that's how you create your customer journey so that they understand that they're responsible for these areas. And that's how you get yourself out. I loved it, because then at that point, I was able to allow them to flourish and create new things and allow them to take ownership of those things. And that's where I think you get with a customer journey. And so the final step is repeat all the steps. Remember, you got to follow up. You got to follow up quick, right? So pre-meeting, if you're going to do stuff, you follow up here. And here's why, right? Email marketing, if you're going to be, marketing on the front end of your customer journey, education is 71% more effective than a cold call. It's hard for us to get leads this day. There's a lot of competition out there. You may need to make sure that your program is comprehensive. It's very easy to explain, and that your customers are really synergetic with that. Obviously 30-50% of MSPs buyers go for the vendor that replies the quickest, and they reply the first. That's a stat. That's legit real. So being fast on the button to send that email and saying, hey, think about if I have all of that stuff documented and I pop that over to that customer right after our meeting within the hour, and I got another MSP that's in there, and they're going to send them, hey, we're going to get back to you because it's going to take us a couple of days to get the assessment done. Who am I going with? I'm going to go with the guy that's got the plan. Why? Because I see myself being successful. And I will be honest, right? If we think about onboarding, on average, 5 follow-ups are required to close 80% of the deals. That's a lot of follow-ups. So if you think about how many follow-ups we got to be doing to close these deals these days, these customers are getting conversations with everybody, right? Remember, don't get hard on yourself in the closing meeting. Only 2% of sales close in the first meeting. So you got to be really good at closing. So I know a lot of you are like, man, you get beat up. You're like, I don't know why we can't close the deal. We struggle with that. Well, do you have a great process for closing the deal? I'd ask you that question. And if you don't have a great process, this is a great way to do it, because you guys have a leg up. I haven't taught a lot of the people this class. So you're the first ones to actually get it this way. And then also 98% of sales require follow-up. So make sure you're following up. It's really important that you guys do that. So let's go back real quick. Remember what buyers want. 69% say, listen to my needs. 61% say, don't be pushy and give me relevant information. And 51% salespeople respond in a timely manner. So there's 3 things that we've talked about today. Your process, make sure that you understand how long it's going to take to implement, and make sure you have some bi-weekly meetings to schedule it. Remember, you want your implementation, your risk, exposure, opportunities, timelines, education are all things that customers want. And every one of these is also an opportunity for you to have a plan around. So for those of you that are here with us today, if you guys want, do me a favor, jump over the MSP Owner's Handbook. They're on the website. There's a lot of these free resources that I give away as part of the book. I don't make any money on the book. The book was designed to give back. So if you guys buy a book on Amazon, I love you for it, but you are actually providing funding for people that also, if you click the Give Back tab, if you have team members that need certifications, go have them apply on the Give Back tab. We're giving away the money from the book. That was the whole point I wrote the book. I wanted the book to be a give. So the money from the book that you guys pay is helping fund. We have a lot of money in there to give back. Have them go and submit their story, how tech's going to help them improve their life, and then we'll put them through the advisory, and hopefully they win a certification. They can win up to, I think it's $1,500.
That's awesome.
Yep, certification of their choice. So if you guys are looking to get your staff trained up, their CompTIA certifications, I did a deal with CompTIA to get us some access to certifications and the learning for it. So they'll get a full access to that. So go to the MSP Owner's Handbook and have them apply. I need to give away a bunch of money. So please, it's been a big success because of people like you and other business owners that have supported us on that journey. But something I like to share, I know that cybersecurity is a big talk track these days, and I wanted to give you guys this resource for those of you who are here. If you guys are doing security policies right now for your customers and trying to align them with stacks, this resource right here is actually from SANS, and all the security policies are already done for you. So if you're implementing new security policies, don't go write them through ChatGPT. Go get them from SANS because they're already done. Like, they're right here. Just go download them, put your logo on it, and then help the customers get compliant if you're starting to move them into the compliance arena. It's really a great opportunity and a great resource, and I used it. If you guys want some of this stuff, I also do a cybersecurity talk tracks. I have done psychology around how to talk to customers in cybersecurity. We actually did a master class and everyone asked a bunch of questions, and I took those questions and broke them down, and we created conversations on the psychology of how to move them. You guys feel free to go grab them. It's for free. You guys are more than welcome to have at them. Anything I create, I love to give away. That's just kind of my thing. Again, back to the whole IT Nation share thing. And really, I want to just end on this note. Take your time. I understand that this is a lot to take in today, and we've covered a lot of ground. So if you got more questions, feel free to ping me. But I want you guys to plan to win. I want you to build for profit. And most importantly, this new world that we're in is make sure you're covered. The limits and liabilities things of this new era is far outweighing, grasping at opportunities than it is to actually, stay in your lane on that notion. If not, then build your contracts to support you and make sure you know your limits and liabilities associated, so you don't end up losing your business to a lawsuit. But you guys, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I do a lot of things. I speak on a lot of things, and I'd love to, engage with people and get to meet you all at some point. I can't wait to see you in April. I have a feeling Sean's going to put me on the hook for that damn bar tab. So I'm pretty sure I might be sponsoring a bar event. But
that's the rumor.
Yeah, I have a feeling he keeps pulling me into these. Hey, well, we got this thing I need you to do. And I'm like, how do I get sucked into this, bro? So I'm happy to share, you guys. Thanks for sticking with me. I really do appreciate all of you. And I hope that you guys got something out of this. Here's my information. If you guys want to connect with me more outside of this, other than when we go down to the April show, feel free to do so. Most of the stuff I do and teach is free. I don't charge for anything. I'm all about trying to share and help other entrepreneurs. So I really appreciate you guys sticking in there. And then Juan Mac, thank you and the rest of the group and the executive council for having me today, man. It's been a big pleasure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Juan. I just remind everybody, I put a survey out there. If you want to click on it and make sure that we're providing value to you. Also, I will always send a follow-up email. So I will have an email with a link to all those documents that you provided, Juan. So we'll keep that share. They're open. If anybody didn't get a chance to download those documents, they'll be available out there for you guys to download. And I cannot help or wait to see you, Juan, and everybody next month. And this was amazing. I think just think about this customer journey and being able to see from the eyes of the customer, right, and how we can provide better services because we're all buyers. In reality, we're all buyers, and we're all providing services, and it's just be able to try to look ourselves in from the eyes of the customers and be able to align. And I think that was a big message here: align our services with our clients, so we're making sure that we're selling success. And I think the other key point here was make sure that we are selling a proven plan or a proven process, not just a products or a stack. That's aligned to us and our techs, but we need to make sure that it's a proven process, and that's what's going to make us successful with our clients. So thank you so much for all that information.
I do have a question, if it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Jason, let's ask. We got a couple minutes, bro.
Cool. So, okay. Oh, hang on. Let me get so you can see me. So the question I have, so we don't have a sales process per se, right? We have technical account manager / director of managed services oversees just the sales function, right? In general. Sure. And I'm an ops director, so I kind of handle the back end piece, right? So process is where I'm at, right? So that's kind of where I find my current employment and functionality. And so one of the things that we've done is we've reworked our onboarding process to actually really put it on paper, understand what we're doing and how we're doing it, which is great. Mm-hmm. Obviously it could always get bigger and better and all that stuff, but the framework is there, right? The basic outline. But the question that I have for you is in regards to like the process as a whole, right? You started MSP, it's a large MSP, you've done it a couple times, it sounded like, right? Like, what would you say is like the first thing that when you go in and you look at something and say, you need to have this, right? This process needs to be first and foremost, otherwise forget it altogether. What would you say that is?
I think the biggest process is just walking through, just right off the bat, walk through a blank customer journey to begin with. So take one of your customers, don't change anything, and follow what happens all the way through that thing. And you're going to find all the holes. Okay. You're going to find out and watch where it stops. Because again, back to the coin in and the dollar out, when I put the coin in, that's the customer, right? And I want to see where that customer goes through every little thing and how do they come out with money at the end? Like, do I get the dollar or not? And so when you watch through from the moment that you talk to them, what happened? What happened next? What happened next? What happened next? Okay, now what happened next? What happened next? What happened next? What happened next? Okay, and then you watch them through pre-sales, sales, first meeting, onboarding, and you watch them all the way through. And as you're watching them, you just chart it out. And you'll watch your arrhythmia of that customer just bounce all over. And then it like squirrels off and goes over here. And then, it came back over here. And then you're like, whoa, no wonder our customers are pissed. Because that's where you start to begin with. Because if you don't start there, it's too hard to like go in and start massaging things you don't know. Yep. Just find out what it is I'm doing now. And then, all right, how do we turn that corner around? Like, let's go build a process to make sure that there's something broken right here because that shouldn't have gone that way.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's where we would start. And that's where I always start with all MSPs is really going through that process with them. And it's really fun because it's like, damn, you guys turned left hard right here for at least a week and then came back. And then you started over, right? So that's where I would start. It's really fun with that.
Okay. And it which makes sense, right? So the next question, which I think would be a logical question, is like when you're looking at that stuff, and let's say we look at we're looking at the very first contact, right? And we're saying, okay, well, this is what happened. We had like, would you put it on paper and say like you have, hours worth of time, you've discussed these 5 things, right? And these were successful, these were not. Right. Mm-hmm. And just kind of put bullet points together as it relates to tasks. Right. Because I mean, ConnectWise is huge with task process. Yeah. Right. So do you build those tasks, making it smaller chunks so that you're making sure that you're reaching that the hitting the audience properly. Right. And do you do that? So I guess the question is really like when you're looking at the process as a whole, are you making small comments that are bigger impact, or like they have a broader stroke, or are you actually going in from a process perspective and digging in real deep and saying you need to do these 5 things for this one item?
Yeah, and that's really, it depends. So like I'm showing you a topical graph, But like, yes, and then I break down each one of those silos and I dive deep into it. And it's like, okay, how far down the rabbit hole and why does this take that long to get done? And then I build those subtasks to make sure that it's going this long because there's no documentation. There's, we missed something here. And like, you can see it really quickly and you're like, okay, well, that goes back to onboarding. So we need to fix that over here.
Yeah.
So that we don't do that again. That's why our onboarding document went from 12 to 65 pages, because we found out that a lot of what was taking a long time during onboarding was the fact that we weren't documenting it appropriately. And like support, like even on the back end on support, like there's just a train wreck that was happening back there because they were just, it was a bomb going off every time the phone rang. It was like everybody was calling everybody and everyone was like, the documentation was all out of whack. And it was like, there was none in some cases when we first started. So yeah, but you dive into each of the areas and understand the process of each of your areas and then document how you do things in each of your areas so that you tie back to your topical graph of your customer journey.
So basically build like an outline first and then dig into each piece or topic within the outline.
Yeah, and you saw those diagrams. Those diagrams were for that exact purpose. There was a number of diagrams that you could flip through to see every part of that. So that we drew it out on purpose so that when new people came in, they understood ticket routing and call flow and process management and task alignment, like how things were created, way tickets routed for individual customers.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Juan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad to answer. Any other questions, you guys? Awesome. Well, hopefully everyone got stuff out of this. I hope everyone could see it and seemed like everyone stuck around for a while. So I'm happy that I didn't lose everybody at the 5-minute mark.
A lot of value out of it. Thank you very much, Juan. Have a good afternoon.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks both, Juans.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Juan.
Juan, it was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, just a reminder that we did record this session, so we'll follow up with a recording too.
Awesome.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.
See you soon, Juan.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.